Yeah. I'm comparing Bao to the ideal person that I thought I'd be married to, and I'm constantly comparing her to that.
Yeah, Johnny, that is...
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blur Book. You know what time it is. We're talking to you guys about Johnny, and on this one we're talking about Johnny's in love with somebody else. Yes, he's in love with the idea of a perfect soulmate that does not exist apart from being in the mind of Johnny. And unfortunately, he's projecting that perfection of a woman onto his wife. And I think the real struggle here is the word choice. And we'll deal with that in a second or two. And I'll tell you why I believe the real problem we have here is choice with Johnny. But hey, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the what uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Stay hydrated. Why? Because the streets out there are hot. They are what? They are hot, baby. Before we go any further, let's get that intro going, boy. You know what time it is. Yes, we're talking to you guys, obviously, about Johnny and Bao. And in this particular episode, we're dealing with this specific issue of Johnny being in love with somebody else. Okay, now it doesn't mean necessarily an actual human being, but he's in love with an idea of a woman. And I think the biggest struggle that Johnny's having here is we got told from the very jump that Johnny is a controlling person. And so is she, Bao. They both have aspects of wanting to control every aspect of their lives. And I think the problem Johnny's having here is, number one, choice has been removed from him, meaning now he no longer has power in the situation. And so the ideal mate he's having in his mind is not Bao. First of all, he didn't choose Bao. And number two, because he can't choose Bao, he's stuck with the Bao that he's seeing. And unfortunately, he rejects that Bao because she does not meet the standards that he has set for himself up here. Right? When the choice gets taken from you, when the power and the control is removed from you, we can see different people react in different ways. But if you're used to being in control, if you're used to being in power, if you're used to having the final say so and you know you control everything in your sphere, when that power is taken away from you, it can cause disillusion. All right. So as he said himself, you know, I was thinking of this perfect wife in my head. Why? Because he left it up to the experts who were going to bring this perfect wife. He has a similar problem to what Zach has of idealizing what the partner should be like. And the problem is this: when we go out dating, we choose somebody who is as close to the perfection as we all have an image in our heads. But when you're on a show, you're being told this is the person who you're meant to be with. You're being chosen for. That power is now removed. That can make people feel like they're in a box, and when they're in the box, they feel claustrophobic and they try to scratch their way out. Which is what we're seeing now. The scratching is the self-sabotage, and the scratching is the mean comments that he makes now towards Bao, which is honestly it's out of bounds. Right? Really, hair one in my nose. Really out of bounds. Ooh, baby, I'm looking just handsome right now. Anyway, so you know that we see that from Johnny in this particular part of section. I want to watch a little bit more, and I'll describe a little bit more what we're talking about.
That's impossible. No one can live up to that standard. That person needs to be destroyed.
What Pascal just said there is that person, that ideology, that theme, we all have a perfect image in our head. What we tend to do as we make a choice is to adapt to that, right? Now, the problem is in the Western society, we are not used to having the control taken from us. So when we are given this other party, we will struggle to adapt because we have not had control in choosing somebody who is as close to the perfection that we all have in our minds. Right? But had he been in maybe like an Eastern culture where people are used to, or maybe there's more access to situations where your partner's being chosen for you, you will automatically adapt because you feel like you have no other choice but to. But in the Western world, we believe we have choice, which is power, and we know, and when you have choice and power, to take that away from somebody, you will fight. So the problem is here that Johnny is actually having a fight, not with Bao, but with the image that he has in his head. He's fighting. Okay, this guy has been on how many first dates so far, and none of them were of any particular longevity. The reason being is because his image of perfection is really super personified. Okay, his image of perfection is really glorified. We all have our image of perfection. In fact, later on, when he's talking to his Marge at the party, he says, well, I wouldn't have lowered my standards. And listen, we have no problem with you lowering your standards, right? That's the reason why you're here. But the issue isn't you lowering your standards. The issue is you've gone on so many first dates and nobody matches up to that ideology because there is nobody who is perfect. And the reason why he can't find the right person is because that image is rooted in emotional wounds. Let's go deep. The image that he has is rooted in too much emotional weeds. Okay? There is far too many emotional weeds. All right? And that is what's causing the image to have a stronghold on him. Most of us build an image due to our environment. We see our parents, we watch movies, and didn't mean to that. And we watch movies, and after time, what happens is we adapt the image, because what we do is we take in information, we collect data, and we begin to remold the perfect image to be more adaptable and to be more realistic. Okay, this is why experience sometimes helps, but also having a good foundation in terms of what is love, what is a caring man, what is a caring woman, what's a good husband, what's a good wife. Having that good collective data helps to build a really good image. When you haven't got that, then you build a really bad image, and then you feel like you're either hitting too low or too high, insecurity or over secure. Right? Insecurity, by feeling like you're too much or feeling you're too less. And then what happens is there's an overcompensation or there's an undercompensation. And then we have issues like what Johnny's facing right now. And now he feels that Bao is not his level. He feels Bao is not the kind of girl that he deserves. And so now, because of his warped mindset in terms of what his perfect image is, because of emotional wounds, daddy issues that his dad left, and what environment he grew up in, that has caused there to be a very strong image that will not be moved. This is why he's going to need some deep therapy. He's going to need some deep counseling to get that image to shift and to move. Otherwise, Bao will be one of the 100 girl he went on a date with and never went past anywhere. Well, Bao's got further than that. Right? He's going to consistently struggle because the image has been fed by a source that's not been healed. I say this to you guys all the time. Our emotional wounds start speaking and creating images. By faith, the Bible says, faith cometh by hearing the word of God, and we walk by faith and not by sight. What you hear becomes what you see. So now what you hear, and remember, the hearing is that what you hear from your environment, what do you see in your environment, what have you experienced in your environment? They are the sounds, they are the words, they are the particular ideas and the thoughts that begin to construct in the mind and become what we walk by. Because the faith cometh by what? Faith cometh by hearing. That's the first part. Meaning there's a type of faith, a belief that we have, all of us, that's outside of the word of God. That is just simply what life is, right? We all know people, we all have belief in something, right? And so that belief is governed by what you've heard. Do you know what's really interesting? The other day, I was just thinking about this, and I'm going to speak to my dad about this. He named me Bonsu, right? Kojo Bonsu, right? So my last name is Ampadu, but my middle name is Bonsu, right? And in the Bonsu, all the Bonsus are rich, right? All the Kojo Bonsus, they are rich. He told me this from young. And just in the last few years, let me be honest with you, the money's come up good. You understand? Money come up good, yeah? Much more than when I was working a few years ago, right? Money just... And ideas for finance have always been there. When I was a young kid, I've always been interested in business, but it's never really gone to a massive level, right? Now I'm starting to see how, I'm seeing how my business skills are now starting to come out, right? But I asked myself this question: am I becoming this great person, or am I financially becoming well off because I'm educated, or is that because I was nurtured that way, or is it because of this name? How about all of the three combined? How about all of it combined? But most importantly, what was spoken into my life has now become a fruit and has been birthed. I was even asking myself, why didn't he name all of us Bonsu so we can all be rich? He's missing a trick. But it's Kojo Bonsu, so it's not the same, right? They're not all Kokojo. So I started to realize, okay, so it's not just the name, but it's the belief behind the name. Because when Jabez in the Bible, if you don't know this story, let me just bring some Bible to you, just in case you don't know this, okay? And I wanted to understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Johnny and Bao. I'm gonna come back onto it. Trust me, this is all gonna make sense. I want you to pay attention. If you're not Christian, deep what I'm saying to you. It's still psychology, it's deep spiritual stuff still. Okay, the story of Jabez is very, very short. The story of Jabez is this young man who, when he came out the womb of his mother, gave his mother so much pain. She named him Jabez, meaning basically pain. And when he grew up, he began to pray and say, God, I don't want to be just known as this guy that gave my mother pain. Help me, right? And so as he did that, God kind of turned his destiny around, and his name no longer became the no longer became the nomenclature, okay? He no longer lived by that name Jabez. Do you understand? He no longer lived by that name and its meaning Jabez. So understand that your name and what people call you and what thoughts and ideas are given to you becomes your faith, right? Because now his idea, Jabez, was that I cause pain wherever I go. But that's because of his name. And so now he's acting out like that. So what Johnny's experiencing is what he's heard and what he's now seeing, which is why I'm talking about Michaela, Jose, Johnny, Bao, Mela, Gil, all of these characters. What they've heard has formulated their belief systems, including myself, including you. Okay, so now Johnny, okay, is in love with an idea that he's crafting in his mind. Okay, he needs a funeral, as Dr. Kyle said, for this image. Okay, it is a false image and it is built up by emotional wounds. His lack of affection, his lack of having the father figure close by, and the rejection that he felt from his father figure has caused him to want a woman who is clingy. This is what he said earlier on earlier in the season. He said he wants a woman that's clingy. Bao isn't clingy, she's independent. That wants a woman that will run after him. You know that part where he came back in the room after they had an argument and stood against the wall? What he wanted from Bao was to say, oh baby, I miss you. I don't want to argue things. She's not as heavy in that. But what he wants from Bao is to have the gushiness and to be all over him, to want him, to desire him, the sexy littleness, you know what I'm saying? And those come from the fact that, again, a lot of times when people are very focused on sex, what happens is, and I'm there and I'm still working it out, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? And I'm aware of it. The reason why the sex is so powerful for people is it is the ultimate form of desire. When you've been rejected, when you've been hurt, when you've been alone, when you have been isolated, when you have been without, starved of attention emotionally, what tends to happen is there's a replacement called sex. There's a replacement called sexual energy. There's a replacement called lust that creates a desire that seems so strong to make the person feel like they are wanted, which is why people give their body away. But they don't want sex. What they want is desire. But that is one of the highest forms of desire. And so they confuse sex with emotional care and need. And they don't know where it comes from. They just realize they want it. They have a craving for it. Like a vampire wants blood. Not sure where this insatiable hunger is coming from, but it's within themselves. And until you heal and do the healing process, you'll realize, just like a vampire, your blood thirst will be insatiable. It can't be cured until you begin to be aware and say, actually, there's something wrong here. And then you begin to do what Johnny's doing, which is being very mean, self-sabotaging, saying very cruel words. And the thing is, he's telling the truth, but he's telling the truth without love. And that is where cruelty exists. I want to make it very clear to you guys. Telling the truth isn't the issue. The issue is you tell truth without love and it becomes cruelty. And I mentioned this in my other review. Okay? So Johnny is lacking this awareness. Okay? And he's in love with this idea. How many of us are in love with an idea? How many of us are in love with an image of what a man should be or a woman should be? And now you've cancelled so many guys and so many girls and opportunities because you feel like you deserve way better. Are you sure you deserve way better, or your image that you hold for what a man or woman is way false? It's built on ideologies, themes, social media, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's built on false ideologies and not reality. You got to ask yourself that real question now. Or is you going to end up like Bao and Johnny? Or you're going to end up like Johnny, shall I say? Where you will not be satisfied. I'm not satisfied with where I've been. Oh, that last note was off, but don't worry about that. You understand? You know what I'm talking about, innit? You get me? You know what I mean? Cover me with the grace. You understand? Love doesn't count no wrongs. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's a wrong note. All right, cool. So what I'm saying in a sense is Johnny needs to heal. And he needs counseling fast. Look, what Pascal did was amazing, but we need counseling now. Or you're asking Bao to die an early death. And I'm not saying Bao was without her own problems. But today, Johnny has shown his ass again. We've got problems. Fast. So I'm going to leave it there. We can deal with some other stuff. We're going to do a part 2 on this for you guys as well. But like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. Appreciate you guys.
Little black hood, you know what time it is.